Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope. Thank you for allowing us to come into your viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so that is why we are here in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And right now, if you order from FijiWater.com 2 cases or more, you will receive a 25% discount on your order at FijiWater.com. It is a one-time order. It is not a subscription. 2 cases or more, 25% off. Your code is SPRING, because spring has sprung at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers, we are Facebook Live, we are YouTube Live, we are RadioFreeNetwork.com Live. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com/new-life, and every broadcast will be available to you. And right now you can tune in for our 24-hour internet radio station, which has launched. You can tune in to listen to music 24 hours a day, music that will encourage you, empower you and inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly become. Go to RadioFreeNetwork.com/WKAP-faith, and you will be able to tune in to our internet radio station 24 hours a day, where you will hear music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that everyone is telling you how bad the economy is going to become, and you are concerned that it will impact your financial stability. So let me say this to all of our listeners and viewers, because I've heard this conversation being generated. The reality is the sky is not falling. And in your case, just continue doing what you are doing now. You're not spending money frivolously. You are not consuming everything that passes before your eyes. You are monitoring your finances consistently. You are trying to do the right thing with your finances. You're saving. You started investing. You can't stop just because people are telling you that the economy is going to become a poor economy. You have to realize some things will occur because of the fact that we came out of a global pandemic, and now we've entered into a war in the Ukraine that is impacting the global geopolitics, and it's also impacting the global economy in some ways. But you can be protected from that. And let me tell you the reason why. Your career is not going to be affected. Your job is going to continue, and you're going to be able to continue with your financial structure. Now, is it true that prices are increasing? Absolutely. We have seen what I like to term as pandemic pricing. As much as people wanted to deny that COVID didn't have an impact on our society, and as much as people want to deny that it was a farce, and as much as people want to deny that it's not real, and as much as people like to deny it for many reasons, the fact of the matter is we've seen prices increase for numerous reasons. You know, there are certainly reasons for certain price increases. Some people are just bad actors and they've increased pricing because they can during coming out of a pandemic. They can justify that. But the reality is that the economy is stable in the sense that corporations are functioning, they're generating revenue, employees are still working. So we've got to look at the big picture. We can't just look at the immediate impact that it has. You know, as I said, our prices increasing. Absolutely, we've seen an increase in gas prices. We've seen an increase in prices of food. We've seen an increase in prices of goods and services. But some companies are just pricing higher because they can. That's just a reality. So we take the good with the bad, but the fact of the matter is that we are still in the position to purchase what we need to purchase, pay our bills, meet our monthly expenditures, and still be able to save and invest. Still be able to put money aside to invest every month. Don't let people get in your ear and tell you that the sky is falling. Because they'll have you worried about something that, first of all, you don't have any control over, and second of all, they'll have you worrying about something that isn't going to impact you in the way that it might impact some others. And then I want to get to that. I want to get to the place where we discuss what's good for everyone at this particular time. When the economy starts to shift or slide downward, that is the time to really save and invest. You know, you really have to take advantage of the opportunity to invest when the economy begins to shift or slide downward. You have to be able to do that. And the only way to be able to do that is to prepare for it. The only way to do that is to simply save and invest every month. We have to recognize that these are buying opportunities. When the market dips, you buy. When the market is up, you pause. That's all. But we've got to look at the big picture, the totality of it all. And what that means is that just as the economy is shifting to a place where prices are increasing, we have to continue to save and continue to invest and spend less money on our social activities, because we are entering back into a period of a sense a semblance of a new normalcy. We know things have changed. And like I said, as much as people didn't want to acknowledge that those 2 years meant something, and now we're, in the midst of watching a war play out in another part of the globe, but it's still having an impact. So we've got to recognize that we have a responsibility to just simply be still and know that the creator of all things is in control of it all. But we have to do our part. So this is a time to save and invest when the market dips and ensure that we can take advantage of the opportunity of building some wealth during this time and not focus on the sky is falling. We've got to trust God, who is in control of everything, that he will provide everything you need. You're going to cause yourself some additional stress worrying about something that you don't need to be worried about. You get up every day, you continue doing what you're doing, you continue working in your career, you continue making progress, and know that everything will be just fine, as long as you don't get distracted by the noise of people saying the economy's going to tank, and telling you how bad the economy's going to be and how bad it's going to become, and then you're spending time worrying about your financial stability. And this is for all of us, every one of us. Just keep doing what you're doing and do it well. Keep working every day. Keep making progress. Keep your eye on the prize. That means the big picture. Keep your eye on the big picture. And everything else will fall into place as long as we keep working, as long as we keep pushing forward, as long as we keep pressing for the mark, as long as we keep moving forward, focusing on what we need to do. Everything will come together. And I want to say this for all of our listeners and viewers. No matter how the remainder of this year, these next 3 quarters play out, as long as we're consistent in managing our lifestyle, managing our careers, and continuing to invest, everything's going to be just fine. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill at T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you are having a difficult time getting your husband to make decisions, and you want to know how can you get your husband to make more decisions. I often hear this, believe it or not, from particularly from spouses saying that their husband won't make decisions. What you've got to understand, and I respond to everyone differently depending on what God reveals to me. What you've got to understand is that it's not that your husband is not capable of making a decision. His decision-making process is just different from your decision-making process. You want decisions made immediately. He doesn't make decisions immediately. he takes time to thoroughly go through the process of not only making a decision, but understanding that there are results or consequences to the decision that he makes. So he's waiting to make the right decision. You have to learn to wait until he makes that decision. The problem is when he doesn't make the decision in the time that you think that the decision should be made, you then make a decision, and then when it doesn't come out the way you thought it should come out, you didn't get the result you thought you should achieve, you then revisit the decision with him, and it becomes a point of contention. What you've got to recognize is that the reason his decision making is different than your decision making is because he understands that you either get the result, the positive result that you want to achieve, or there's going to be a consequence. I always say it's what the Bible has presented to us is that we wait on the Lord. And what that means is that you wait until God gives you a revelation. God speaks to your spirit in a way that you understand. Maybe something comes to you from a previous life experience, something that occurred 5 or 10 years ago. You addressed it one way, you saw the result or the consequence of that, and then you can revisit that and make a good decision based on that. There's many ways that God will speak to you, but you have to wait on him to speak. You can't decide that you want to, and I'll give you an example. So, you want to make some renovations to your home in the late spring and early summer. You presented it to your husband. Watch this, because you didn't tell me this in your communication. God allowed me to see in that secret place of your life. You presented it to your husband. Your husband said he'll give it some consideration. He'll give it some thought. And because you didn't get the answer that you wanted, which was, yes, we'll make some renovations, or he didn't give you a response in a week, 10 days, you felt he just isn't capable of making the decision. So instead of you waiting for him to analyze the cost, to make a decision on when it would be appropriate to move forward, he may not have wanted to do it in late spring, early summer. He may have wanted to do it late summer, early fall. You started calling places. And you didn't get more than one bid for each project, but you just started calling places trying to set up getting someone out to do it. Then you come back to him and he's saying to you, but this is not the time to do it because cost of products and services are up right now. And it wasn't something you could do during the winter when business was slow for some contractors that you could get a better price. There's a lot of variables to what you want to do. But this is not the first time you've had this discussion about him making a decision. It's not that you cannot get him to make a decision. You just can't get him to make a decision when you want him to make the decision. He's going to think it through completely and then decide whether it is this year or whether what you need to have done or want to have done is going to be done next year. He hasn't decided that yet. And part of the reason he hasn't decided is because the Lord hasn't spoken to him yet. Now you might say, well, he doesn't have that kind of relationship with the Lord. But even, listen, God, if you just are patient and present before God what you want to accomplish, God will reveal to you. Now, I happen to know, not because you're in our area, but I happen to know that he's just looking, and he's not even looking at it from the perspective of, am I going to hear from the Lord? But he's looking at it from the perspective of, is it the right time to do it? Is the cost of doing that going to go down at a later time during the year? But even in that, God will reveal to you, even if it's by the numbers, God will reveal to you if this is the right time to do this. And this occurs over and over again in your marriage because you want them to make a decision about everything when you want them to make the decision. And here's what you need to know. What you need to know is that everything has a timely process. There's a time for every purpose. A time for every purpose. Or as the scripture says, there's a time for every purpose under the sun. You can't just do things because you want to do them. You have to do them because you want to do them, and it's the right time to do them. It's the right way and the right time to do them. Because otherwise, you're not going to maximize the success of what you want to accomplish. And for all of us, that's what we should be living for every day. That everything we do should maximize what we're trying to accomplish. And I see more and more every day, I will tell you, to all of our listeners and viewers, I see more and more every day that people do things for a reason and not for the purpose of maximizing their success. See, when you maximize your success, it takes you longer to accomplish the goal. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't have a time factor. And that's gonna take me into my next communication. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't have a time factor. That's part of setting smarter goals. It has to be a process to get to the completion of the purpose. There is always a process. And we should always be looking at the big picture, and most people are only looking at through a much smaller lens. That lens is usually, can I accomplish what I want to accomplish today so that other people can see my accomplishments? There's a process that goes through, there's a process to go through to get to the promise of everything. There is a process. And it takes time. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes, some cases, money, but there's a process. But nobody wants to go through the process to get to the promise of their purpose. And yet, we spend a lot of time complaining about what we want to accomplish, but we don't go through the process to get to the promise. Just know this. He will make a decision if you're patient, if you patiently wait for him to make the decision and to find the right time, the right people for the right purpose. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Terrett, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need, shirts for men, ties for men, suits for men, and accessories. I'm in Charles Terry attire today. Everything that you see that I have on is part of Charles Terry attire. If you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Terry at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. So I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you want to begin setting goals for the future. However, you are not certain the direction to take with goal setting. So first of all, I'm going to walk us through this again because, I've often said people spend a lot of time getting from point A to point B when in reality there's a whole alphabet out there. Point A to point C. So we started out, many of us, with SMART goals. Now we understand that there's a smarter way to do this, smarter goals. So if you're going to search for a direction to take with setting goals, with goal setting, start with this. You've got to start to be very specific. And being very specific means that you need to write out exactly what you want to accomplish, both personally and professionally. I always encourage everyone to write out 3 things for personal accomplishments, 3 things for professional accomplishments. That is goal setting. But you want to write out 3 things that you want to accomplish, preferably each year for the next 7 years. So that's part of your 7-year plan. You've got to be real specific. You got to be real specific about what you want to accomplish. And then you have to write out the steps that it will take to accomplish that. So if you set 3 personal goals for the year, and let's say one of them is to improve your health and wellness, then you have to write out the steps, bullet point the steps that it's going to take to accomplish that. If you want to accomplish the 3 things that you write out professionally that you want to accomplish, you need to write out the steps that it's going to take to accomplish that. And you need to do that for every year for the next 7 years. That's being specific. They need to be measurable goals. How do you measure the success? How do you measure the success of the goals that you've set? They've got to be measurable. So you've got to have some benchmarks. If it's health and wellness, let's say you set out that you're going to, like I've set a goal for this year that I want to work out 250 days out of this year. I met that goal last year. I want to do that again this year. That's goal setting. They've got to be measurable, and they have to be attainable. So there's 365 days in the year. I know I can work out 250 of them. I did that last year. I'm going to do it again this year. And here's the thing you need to know. I couldn't have set my goal for 400 days working out when I know there's only 365 days in a year. So they have to be attainable goals. And then they have to be relevant. They have to be relevant to your big picture of what you want to accomplish over the next 7 years. So they have to be relevant. They have to be time sensitive. So every year you have to time them out. What do you want to accomplish each year? And then you have to evaluate constantly. Let a man examine himself. You have to evaluate constantly how you're progressing. And then you may have to go back and make some revisions. So those are smarter goals. And that's what we want to do to make certain that we get to the place that we want to accomplish. I'll be talking more about smarter goals throughout the year. So stay with us, stay tuned in. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water, A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards